Monks are overpowered. A new update change that wasn't in the first patch notes covering that they sneakily changed, we're going to talk about here, which is a massive buff to necromancers. I actually got caught up in Server Paragon and gained like another 1,000 combat rating and more in today's DM breaks down random Diablo news. We've had a ton of people showing up to the live streams. We had an average of 100 viewers. We got 40 new subscribers on the Twitch live stream last night. Thanks to all the new people subscribing, coming to view, just hanging out and chatting and all that. We've been popping off. The new update is here, ladies and gentlemen, and check me out. I have been farming. I am now above the Server Paragon level once again, and I have got an absolute ton of combat rating gained. I think I'm like 9,500 with my total gear, and with just my set bonus gear that I was using for PvP is like 9,337. We've gained a ton of combat rating this week. The live streams have been popping off. I've been live streaming like yesterday. I live streamed 12 hours. I've been live streaming like 10 hours every single day, just grinding, checking out all these different characters, etc. Learning about the game a whole bunch again with the new update, etc. Speaking of the new update, there's a new update today, and it's actually a little bit different than we originally thought it was. The new update is better than we thought it was, actually. Now, currently in the game, you're going to notice there's a new event, the Rising Damnation. It actually ends on my birthday, the 13th. We're going to be doing birthday live stream probably on YouTube when we have our birthday as well. But anyway, it ends then, and you're going to notice there's a bunch of goodies you can get here. I kind of wish the pros would get more, but basically this isn't anything you really have to worry about. The event's kind of just the same as the shit that we always get. It's a JPEG image, and then log in, kill the same monsters you were going to kill anyway, get some freebies. Thanks for the freebies. That's about it. Now, a pretty casual event. The Hungry Moon's back to gobble up some more food because the Hungry Moon's literally always starving for some reason. I do like this one more than the other events, honestly, because you still get a crest, you still get a pearl, but then you get a set item. And for me, honestly, set items, like you can bribe me with set items, and I'm pretty much always going to be excited by that. And then obviously there's the things you can buy here. And the other thing about this is you can actually buy scraps and stuff, even though the exchange rate's not very amazing. Like I don't know about you guys, but I need all of the scraps, flowing shards, and mostly beguiling dust I can get my hands on because the ranks for my item blacksmiths are fairly low. So I'll take any dust, etc. I can get. But let's talk about the part of the update that's actually a little bit better than the first time we read the notes. All right, so check this out right. Here's the update that I covered in the last video. You go down through here, feature updates. Look, this part has actually changed. It no longer says Everlasting Torment. This was a mistranslation, I guess, from the Chinese patch notes when the English team went through it. So what this actually says is Seeping Bio, your summoned creatures now have a chance to apply the poison effect to enemies they attack. Now, this is absolutely massive if you're a Necromancer. In fact, this is arguably one of the biggest buffs to Necromancer since the game's been out. Why am I saying this? Well, let me walk you through it. So the Seeping Bio here, this gem is absolutely insane. What it does is it does this 4% chance to poison enemies, inflicting 45% base damage plus this amount, 263 every second for 6 seconds, and decreases movement speed. So in PvP, this is ridiculous because it gets you a lot of your kills on things like barbarians, etc. In PvE, it's even more ridiculous, okay? Because what it actually ends up doing is it means when you're farming the overworld, etc., it procs from one minion to another. Because if you look, this poison spreads to nearby enemies if the victim dies, cannot affect the same target more than once. So basically, it's like a virus that goes from one to one. Remember like the World of Warcraft Warlock dots? Like that's kind of what it is. Like it kills one, it goes to the next person, kills one, goes to the next person. And because of that, it's really, really good in PvE farming, and it does a significant amount of damage. Well, the problem was on Necromancer, this was pretty useless because the PvE summons are the best single target like raid type of boss build, but the summons damage was not proccing the Seeping Bio. And the only way that you can actually get the Seeping Bio to proc, and this is where the mistranslation came from, was that you could use the Everlasting Torment's effect of damage from your summons, because that would work on summons, in order to proc the Seeping Bio. So if you read that in the Chinese translation, you would see Everlasting Torment and you would misunderstand what they're actually saying. But the Seeping Bio was the original problem, which now works for summons on the Necromancer, which is a significant buff to Necromancer DPS, mostly in packs of mobs, but also in things like bosses, raid bosses. Not as much in PvP. The summons in PvP for Necromancer tend to be somewhat weaker and die quickly, and so you don't get too much damage off. But yes, it would be a buff technically in all areas of the game if you're using a Seeping Bio on a summon Necromancer. Also on Reddit, etc., you're going to see a lot of conversation about Monk right now. We spoke about Necromancer, but in the previous patch, Monk got a little bit of love. One of the things I wanted to do is kind of ride the fence a little bit here between the two opinions, because what you're going to notice is this guy says Zen Shield's just impossible. He links to JT's video where JT goes 30-0. JT's kind of a bad example because he's like the strongest guy in literally the entire game, but he does make a point about the shield being impossible and not being able to be, chain stunned, etc., because of that immunity to CC. But then this guy makes a good point too about, well, how about the 800 resonance Monk? Still OP? What about 7,000 resonance DH, etc.? The real problem is in fact resonance, but there's a balance here that I feel like a lot of people aren't really addressing, which is the fact that when you have higher resonance, this thing, the shield, becomes more annoying. So basically the way resonance works is increases your life, and then if you have these big shields like Mount Banks or Zen Shield, etc., it is based upon like a percentage of your life. And so as you have more life because of resonance, your shield gets bigger, which means you have a bigger health pool entirely, but more importantly, that shield lives longer, which gives you a longer time of CC duration immunity. Now, I know this because the Necromancer has this same thing. For instance, the Bone Armor Shoulders will allow you to do the same thing the Monk does, where you ignore basically knock-ups, stuns, all these types of things, and you're just like, haha, you tried, and you're just like walking right, by ignoring the knock-ups, the Fury's charges, etc. So for that reason, I can tell you for a fact, a Necromancer will rule the BGs the same way the Monk will if you have that kind of immunity. And Necromancers still, if you can pop off with tons and tons of damage, etc. But the Monk is feeling frustrating to play against because it's the most obvious scenario of this happening, because the Monk is like teleporting on top of you, so you instantly try to CC him very often, and then, well, you can't because he's immune to CC because he's Zen shielded either to get to you, or he basic attacked on top of you and then shielded, or he dashed to you when you ran away with the shield, etc. And so the Monk feels impossible to deal with because it feels like he's always on you and you have 0% chance of getting away from him. But then it also feels like, oh, and if I outplay him with a CC or something, it doesn't matter anyway because he has a shield. And then you add in what these guys are saying in the comments, like, oh, Monk's not OP, it's just the resonance. And you add in, oh yeah, okay, they have 7,000 resonance and they have 85 bajillion extra HP, which makes their shield even stronger, etc. So there is sort of a middle ground between these. Monks are definitely flavor of the month right now, so there's more of them. So more often when you lose, it's because of a Monk. Might not necessarily be because they are a Monk, but because of a Monk. If you can understand the difference that was on the other team, it is flavor of the month. And then there's definitely the fact that resonance is, it's been out of hand in PvP entirely. So I kind of wanted to chip in and give my opinion on Monk, because I have played a lot of Monk, and I think Monk's really fun. And I also think Monk is started the game with people not really respecting the Monk, so I don't really want to take away instantly from the Monk feeling pretty good. The other thing is, I made this argument on stream, which there's an argument to be made, like, let it just cycle. Like, what if they just let certain classes get out of hands at certain times? That way they're almost like forcing people to class change in a way. There's 6 classes in this game. The best way to make the game last as long as possible is just make one of the classes OP at a time, and everyone will switch to Necro, then everyone will switch to Wizard, then everyone will switch to Barbarian, or whatever, and you just go in a cycle, right, of like, oh, this class is the flavor of the month. They've done this with other games in particular, and that does kind of artificially like extend the life of the game, because it makes everyone try almost every class. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but there's an argument to be made that maybe it's not such a horrible thing if certain classes are OP at a time. I feel like it's very difficult actually to balance these PvP types of games. I come from some competitive games like League of Legends, etc. Even games like Counter-Strike, I suppose, have the concept where it's almost impossible to always have 100% balance. Like, some weapons will always be better, some sides of maps will always be better, some classes will always be better, just innately because the players will make them better because they figured out, which builds are better and how to utilize it and the strategies and all these types of things. And so I'm not really sure where I stand on the fact if one class is going to be better or not, because I remember the same post of like Wizard being completely disgusting overpowered like just a couple months ago, and I remember everyone hating Barbarians right at the launch of the game. So I'm not really sure. I'll leave that up to the court of public opinion, I suppose. But your boy's going to go live again for another insane grind today. You can tell by the state of my house it is in disorder, because we've been grinding an absolute ton of Diablo Immortal. We're back to being red bar. No more making fun of me for being 30 Paragon levels below or something. We gained a ton of levels, by the way, within the last few days. It was like 40 or something levels. It was pretty crazy. Ton of combat rating and all that. And I've been talking to all the people coming by. We gained like 50 more Twitch subs or something yesterday. It's actually insane. There's been a ton of you guys showing up and chatting and subscribing and all that stuff. It's been really encouraging. So that being said, love you all. Thanks for watching this video. See you on the next one.